Thank you, Mr. President, for a very warm welcome, and thank you for your remarks, which are a very good summary of the two very good meetings we have had, the meeting we had between ourselves and the meeting which was attended by both of our officials. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and to have the opportunity as President of Ireland in sharing part of the celebrations of your centenary. I wouldn't want to have missed it. If I may just say a few words, because we discussed issues of culture and language. Our own language is 5,000 years old, so if I might just say, tá fíor cinóchas ar an féin seach, gur a sean sam fe bórteach e gelúre and gmóra da céad den nas blocus e Latvia. I'm just said in Irish and in many cases that it has been such a great pleasure to have been part of your celebration and to have been able to exchange discussions not only about that which we share in our past experience. We both have dealt with very strong neighbours over a very long time, but also what we share in relation to the future. And very much I want to thank you for your remarks as well. Just now, Ireland is deeply appreciative of your support and solidarity with us as we deal with the issues of which something we regret and for which we have some sadness, and that is the exit of our largest neighbour from the European Union. We, after all, recall a great moment in 2004 when we had the Day of Welcomes, which was at Áras an Uachtaráin, the home of the President of Ireland, when we welcomed more members of the European family. Which enables me to say as well how so strongly I agree with you that the discussion of the future of the European Union must be one that is not a conversation that it is initially between the strongest and then later as an addendum includes all of the others. It must be a conversation that includes all of the members of the European Union. In our conversations as well, we were able to discuss, as I said, not just the challenges, but also the great opportunities of the future. In many ways, the smaller countries of Europe are in a very good position to be able to take charge of new forms of connection between industry, ecology, economy, and social justice, moving, if you like, from what was a situation after World War II of a concentration on welfare to concentration of well-being. And that enables us, I think, to do forms of economy in an entirely new way and really be to the forefront in the European Union in relation to sustainable development and responding to climate change. That in turn enables the European Union in itself to become a region that is giving global leadership. It was such a pleasure, I have to say, President, to be able to discuss how much we share in the importance we both attach to matters of culture. And I think it is something that it is so obvious to us. Again, in relation to our past experience of independence, our acts of military gesture in 1916 and of political independence was preceded by a cultural revolution that in fact invited people to have a sense of what it meant to be Irish. Equally, I think as well, bearing in mind that just shortly after the great exodus following our famine, that in 1901 more Irish people born in Ireland lived outside of the island of Ireland than lived on the island of Ireland itself. We share an interest in our diaspora. We also, something very important is that we have the experience of being both migrants and receiving migrant populations. I think in relation to the other issues to discuss, the forms of economy that will be appropriate for the new Europe which is evolving is one that will, of course, we have to be tested against its capacity to answer the questions of sustainability, but very particularly in response to climate change. It means as well that the criteria in relation to the MMF, which now is in a discussion that you correctly say is just opening up, will not just be really the old criteria of associated with what you might call the industrial economies of the strongest, but it also will have to include criteria as to whether we're giving capacity to all of the 27 to enable them to take part in, let us say, the green economy and in connections, better connections between ecology and economy. I think the Latvian community We can never get a definite figure, but all I can tell you is they're most welcome, making a very positive contribution to Ireland, and very particularly as well in relation to not just the economy, but in relation to the fullest participation in relation to the culture. I do think as well, and the future in relation to, we appreciate very much your understanding, as we do the understanding of all our fellow members of the European Union, in relation to the particular issues that are created for us by Brexit. I think that very particularly our peace agreement, which is 20 years old, now requires our continual attention. In our discussion, we had an opportunity of discussing what is involved when you set about the task of commemoration, given the circumstances that either both of us have. It requires being able to transact the past in such a way that it provides no impediment to your having a future of opportunities, but very particularly a cohesive present. Again and again, I think the discussion in Europe is now coming to a point at which we realise that if competitiveness and cohesion were in similar status in the Lisbon Treaty, competitiveness more or less took over to the point at which the discourse on cohesion is insufficient, which has created difficulties in relation to reconnecting with the European street. All of our conversations in the future will require the privileging of cohesion, and that will have implications for both investment, infrastructure, and the necessary transfers between the strongest and the weakest. I was delighted, Mr. President, for you that we can agree as well that a Europe of several speeds is not really the appropriate future for the Union, but that we must all go forward together. I very, very much look forward to it, even in my brief visit, of having the opportunity of walking at the Old Town and of also meeting your institutions. But may I say, Mr. President, that I have recommended that the best possible future we can achieve now together is not just our students who have already gained from Erasmus, but our teachers and scientists and technologists and others, deepening our relationships, deepening our bilateral relationships between our third level institutions, both university and technological. And I see the warmest of possibility. There are very, very fruitful possibilities in what I know is a friendship that will deepen, and I hope my visit contributes to it. Thank you.